Tell me, why did Hollywood wake up this morning acting like the entire entertainment industry just stepped on a live landmine? Because apparently, according to Jaguar Wright, yes, that Jaguar, the walking nuclear reactor of celebrity truth bombs, Leonardo Dicaprio isn't just the soft-spoken indie darling with cheekbones that could slice through marble. No. Jaguar says he's allegedly the center of a health scandal so explosive it could wipe out half of Hollywood's A-list dating pool. We are talking about the heavy hitter, the one word that makes every studio executive's blood run cold. HV. And guess who gets dragged into the blast radius? Michael B. Jordan. The internet's favorite brooding heartthrob is suddenly being accused of catching HIV, something he allegedly didn't even know he was signing up for. Are we looking at the ultimate betrayal, or is the industry's house of cards finally folding under the weight of a massive medical cover-up? Jaguar casually tossed Damson Idris into the conversation like she was adding paprika to a boiling pot of chaos, then sprinkled Leo's HIV status on top just for garnish. Now the timeline is melting, Twitter detectives are hyperventilating, and TikTok conspiracy theorists are stitching videos like they're in the final round of a forensic science competition nobody asked for. Is the king of the world actually the king of a secret viral nightmare? And did Michael B. Jordan pay the ultimate price for his proximity to power? Welcome to the scandal Hollywood PR teams prayed you'd never hear. Grab your tea, lock the doors, and turn up the volume, because what I'm about to tell you makes a movie script look like a bedtime story. Welcome to the fallout. Hollywood was already drowning in scandals, lawsuits, NDAs, and quiet settlements, but nothing, absolutely nothing prepared anyone for the bomb Jaguar Wright casually dropped like she was announcing the weather. One moment the timeline was arguing over award show outfits, and the next moment the entire industry hit a full meltdown because Jaguar claimed that Leonardo Dicaprio had been walking around with a truth so dark, so dangerous, and so deeply buried under studio contracts that even people closest to him had no idea what they were being exposed to. We are talking about HV, a word that is whispered in the shadows of clinic backrooms but never, ever mentioned in the same sentence as a 3-time Academy Award winner. Jaguar didn't whisper it. She didn't hint at it, she pulled the emergency exit lever mid-flight and let the whole cabin decompress, painting Leonardo not as the charming environmentalist with the angelic interviews, but as the center of a secret medical web powerful enough to contaminate reputations, relationships, and entire film productions. People started digging into old interviews like miners searching for buried guilt, looking for any sign of a physical decline or a slip-up in his carefully curated innocent boy aesthetic. Clips where Leonardo looked tired went viral within minutes. Screenshots where he avoided personal questions became instant evidence of a cover-up. Fans who used to praise his soft-spoken demeanor were now calling it a suspicious silence, like he had been hiding a viral ticking time bomb all along. Just when everyone thought Jaguar had fired the biggest shot she could, she leaned back and calmly pulled Michael B. Jordan into the crossfire. The internet froze because nobody saw this coming. Michael B. Jordan, the brooding heartthrob with the slow, careful speech and the energy of a man who carries poetry under his skin, was suddenly thrust into a narrative darker than any character he has ever played on the big screen. Jaguar didn't just mention him. She claimed he was a direct victim of this industry-wide negligence. She painted a picture of Michael as someone manipulated, targeted, and blindsided by a health status he didn't even know existed until it was potentially too late. She essentially alleged that Michael B. Jordan is now HIV positive because of his proximity to Leonardo DiCaprio and the reckless lifestyle that the Hollywood elite considers normal. This isn't just gossip anymore. This is an accusation of a life-altering medical betrayal. People started splicing footage of Michael looking emotional in public appearances, adding dramatic captions about hidden pain and silent suffering. Fans started posting slow zooms on his eyes like they were searching for coded cries for help or signs of a man processing a devastating diagnosis in private while the world watched him smile for the cameras. TikTok had found its new obsession and wasn't letting go, especially when Jaguar, because she refuses to let anything stay small, casually tossed Damson Idris into the narrative like she was seasoning a pot of boiling chaos. People who were barely keeping their sanity after the Leonardo and Michael B. Jordan claim now had Damson's name blinking in neon red. The same Damson Idris whose high-profile relationship and split with Lori Harvey had already been surrounded by rumors and coded Instagram posts. Jaguar's mention instantly reignited the obsession, with people claiming the whole breakup was part of a bigger, hidden chain of medical secrets that nobody noticed until Jaguar pointed it out. Then came the part that destroyed every remaining piece of stability Hollywood was holding on to. Jaguar dropped Leonardo's name again, not as an accuser, but as a potential member of the proximity circle. That one whisper ripped open a wormhole of conspiracy theories, because when Leo's name enters a conversation, it stops being gossip and becomes global news. Tabloids started writing that Leo's team was in crisis mode, and Twitter Spaces popped up with thousands of listeners asking why the industry is hiding a health emergency of this magnitude. Studios panicked because they don't know how to spin a story about a viral infection involving their most bankable leading men. This isn't a messy breakup or a leaked argument. This is the type of accusation that destroys careers, contracts, films, and endorsements overnight. Jaguar didn't slow down. She doubled down, claiming that Leonardo wasn't just making bad choices but was operating behind closed doors with a reckless disregard for anyone he came into contact with. She implied there were secret messages and whispered warnings that people ignored because the industry is obsessed with protecting marketable talent. She said people were too busy chasing roles and clout. Care about the truth, and that the machine surrounding Leonardo was built to hide anything that threatened the perfect image studios spent millions crafting. The narrative for Michael B. Jordan shifted from shock to deep sympathy, with fans theorizing that his recent social media silence wasn't him being an introvert, but him processing betrayal and devastation. Every video of him looking away from a camera turned into a viral breakdown, and a fan page posted an old interview where he paused before answering a question, gaining millions of views under the caption that he knew something was wrong even back then. The internet fell into a frenzy connecting dots that didn't even exist, building a narrative out of half-expressions and coincidental timing. Meanwhile, people revisited Leonardo's entire career timeline, dissecting his sudden rise and his sudden disappearances between films, claiming everything looked suspicious. Reddit threads with tens of thousands of comments appeared overnight analyzing every relationship he had ever been rumored to be in, claiming his interviews always had a strange tension and that he smiled too carefully to be truly innocent. Everything became a clue in a puzzle that Jaguar Wright had laid out for the world to solve. As the chaos peaked, anonymous insider pages began dropping supposed screenshots of private conversations claiming that even more names were involved in this HV scandal. It wasn't verified, but the internet doesn't care about proof when it has a spectacle this massive. It became a digital wildfire, a global obsession that was bigger than any movie any of these men had ever starred in. Studios were monitoring everything in real time, watching the drama unfold like a hurricane ripping through every corner of the web, with reports that private email chains had gone into lockdown and high-profile managers were telling their clients to stay away from red carpets until the dust settled. But the dust isn't settling because TikTok detectives are now reviewing every single warning Jaguar Wright has given over the last 5 years, claiming she predicted this exact moment. Anonymous tip pages multiplied overnight with sources claiming that Michael B. Jordan had been warned about the risks of his circle months before but didn't take it seriously. Another source insisted that Damson Idris tried to distance himself but was dragged back in by the gravity of the fame machine. The stories contradicted each other, but the audience didn't want truth, they wanted the outrage. Someone even posted a blurry photo from a private event that supposedly showed Leonardo whispering something into Michael's ear, and despite the terrible lighting, people called it proof of a secret conversation about their health status. The comments exploded with a mix of accusations and outlandish narratives that no Hollywood writer could ever get away with. Then, another account leaked what they claimed was a confidential medical file with names blacked out, and the internet convinced itself it was the smoking gun. People began debating fonts and analyzing signature spacing like forensic analysts, while others compared how many times Leonardo blinked compared to Michael in press conferences, claiming blinking patterns were signs of hidden guilt. Reason evaporated as the scandal became a monster feeding off itself. When someone claimed Leonardo's team had quietly pulled him from a gala for health precautions, the internet latched onto it instantly, claiming he was in hiding. Even old photos of Leo standing near other celebrities at premieres went viral with captions saying the images had aged like milk. Jaguar was doing interviews with a level of confidence that terrified people, speaking in a tone that suggested she had folders of medical receipts locked away, waiting for the perfect moment to detonate the final charge. She said she wasn't afraid and that she had been warning the industry for years about people who smile like angels but behave like demons. Her calmness made the HV allegations feel even bigger and more believable to a public craving entertainment disguised as a moral crusade. Michael B. Jordan's silence became a storyline of its own, interpreted not as privacy, but as a silent confirmation of the virus. People wrote long threads about how gentle souls suffer quietly, while others claimed he was negotiating with studios to preserve what was left of his career. No one knew the truth, but the vacuum allowed the public to create infinite versions of it, each one darker than the last, leading up to the moment everyone realized this wasn't just about a virus, but about a system designed to exploit and then dispose of its biggest stars. The silence from the Leonardo Dicaprio camp didn't just feel like a strategic move. It felt like a heavy, suffocating blanket pulled over a room full of screaming people. While the world was reeling from the initial shock of Jaguar Wright's claims regarding HIV and the alleged chain of infection, the industry began to shift from simple panic into a state of total high-stakes warfare. You have to understand that in Hollywood, a secret this big doesn't just stay with the person holding the diagnosis. It leaks into the catering, the trailers, the lighting crews, and eventually, the people sharing the screen. Jaguar's second wave of allegations suggested that this wasn't just a random medical tragedy, but a calculated game of power where some people were kept in the dark to ensure they remained useful to the machine. She pointed directly at the contracts, claiming that Michael B. Jordan's recent deals were structured in a way that essentially bought his silence before he even knew what he was supposed to be silent about. The internet began to speculate that the brooding, emotional energy we've seen from Michael in his recent public appearances wasn't just him getting into character for a new role, but the heavy, crushing weight of a man who realized his health had been traded for a blockbuster movie deal. As the second phase of this scandal erupted, the focus intensified on the proximity circle and how far this virus could have traveled through the A-list elite. People began mapping out the last 3 years of Hollywood parties, award show after-parties, and private yacht trips with a level of detail that would put a criminal investigator to shame. If Leonardo DiCaprio was the sun in this solar system of scandal, then everyone orbiting him was suddenly in as being in the danger zone. Every handshake caught on camera, every whispered conversation in the background of a TMZ clip, was scrutinized. The public started asking why certain actors suddenly stopped working together or why certain best friend duos in the industry abruptly went cold. Jaguar Wright claimed that the medical cover-up was so extensive that studios were reportedly hiring private doctors to administer treatments on set under the guise of vitamin drips or energy boosters to keep the stars filming while their bodies were fighting a battle they weren't allowed to discuss. This level of institutional corruption, if true, would mean that Hollywood isn't just a place of dreams, but a place of biological hazards protected by billion-dollar legal teams. The narrative regarding Michael B. Jordan became even more heart-wrenching as the insider reports started flooding the gossip blogs. One report claimed that Michael had been seen visiting a high-end, high-security clinic in the middle of the night, not for a routine checkup, but for specialized immunological consultations. The fans, who were already on edge, took this as a definitive sign. They started a hashtag campaign demanding the truth for Michael, while simultaneously calling for a boycott of any studio that supposedly knew about Leo's status and failed to warn his co-stars. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. People were revisiting the timeline of Michael's relationship with Lori Harvey, wondering if the breakup for the sake of career was actually a breakup for the sake of survival. Jaguar hinted that Lori's father, Steve Harvey, was the one who initially got wind of the health scandal and pulled his daughter out of that circle faster than a PR agent could draft a mutual split statement. Suddenly, every sad song Lori posted and every cryptic tweet from Michael looked like a piece of a tragic puzzle involving blood tests and life-altering news. But then, the fire spread even further. Damson Idris, who had been trying to maintain a low profile, found his name being dragged back into the center of the HIV narrative. Jaguar alleged that Damson was next in line in this chain of infection, suggesting that the industry uses a specific type of rising black actor to bolster the images of older, established stars, often at the cost of their personal well-being. She claimed there were grooming tactics involved where these younger men were brought into Leo's inner circle, promised the world, and then left to deal with the fallout of the lifestyle they were introduced to. The internet erupted in anger at the idea of these young, talented stars being used as collateral damage for the king of the world. People began analyzing Damson's recent interviews, claiming his voice sounded thinner, his energy was lower, and his eyes carried the same haunted look they were now seeing in Michael B. Jordan. The theory was that there was a secret brotherhood in Hollywood, not of success, but of shared trauma and shared illness, kept quiet by the threat of total career blacklisting. As studios watched their stock prices and their brand safety ratings plummet, the legal threats started flying. Reports surfaced that Leonardo's lawyers had sent out a massive wave of cease and desist letters to anyone even whispering the word HV in relation to his name. But in the age of the internet, you can't sue a million people at once. The more the lawyers tried to suppress the story, the more the public believed it. It's the classic Streisand effect. By trying to hide the truth, they were only highlighting the lie. Jaguar Wright laughed off the legal threats in a live stream, claiming she had encrypted files that were set to release automatically if anything happened to her. She called herself the insurance policy for the victims of the industry. Her confidence was infectious, and even the most skeptical viewers started to wonder, what if she's right? What if the reason Leo only dates women under 25 is part of a larger, more sinister pattern of avoiding anyone who might have the maturity or the legal power to hold him accountable for a health scandal? The conspiracy theorists then took it a step further, claiming that the recent surge in biopics and period pieces was a way for studios to keep their infected stars in heavy makeup and prosthetics to hide the physical signs of illness. They claimed that the industry's obsession with CGI was no longer about art, but about digital health management, where actors could be made to look healthy and vibrant in 4K even if they were struggling behind the scenes. This idea, that the Hollywood we see on screen is a completely artificial, medically sanitized lie, sent shockwaves through the fan bases. People started looking at Michael B. Jordan's skin in his latest promos, arguing over whether it was real or digitally smoothed to hide the effects of medication. The level of paranoia was unprecedented. It wasn't just about who was sick. It was about the fact that we can no longer trust our eyes when we look at the people we admire. While the internet was busy playing doctor and detective, a new leak appeared on a dark web forum that claimed to be a thread of emails between high-level executives at a major production house. The emails discussed contingency plans for a major talent's health crisis and mentioned settlement funds for affected third parties. Though the names were redacted, the timing was too perfect for it to be anyone else but Leo and Michael. The public took this as the smoking gun. The narrative was no longer about Jaguar Wright's crazy claims. It was now about a corporate cover-up of a biological hazard. People were asking, how many other people are in this chain? How many makeup artists, stylists, and assistants have been exposed to this secret without their consent? The scandal was expanding from a celebrity gossip story into a labor rights nightmare. Michael B. Jordan's team finally broke their silence with a very short, very sterile statement that said Michael remains focused on his work and his health, but the use of the word health was a massive mistake. The internet latched onto it like a shark. Why mention his health at all if he's fine? They asked. The statement was meant to calm the storm, but it only added more fuel to the fire. People started comparing it to the statements made by celebrities in the 80s and 90s before they retired due to illness. The fear was that we were watching the slow-motion retirement of one of the greatest actors of our generation. Jaguar Wright didn't let up for a second, posting a cryptic message that said, "The doctors can only lie for so long before the blood speaks for itself." As we move deeper into this rabbit hole, the connections between Leonardo, Michael, and Damson are becoming more than just professional. Jaguar claims there are private journals and recorded voice notes that prove Michael was devastated when he found out the truth about Leo's status. She says he felt betrayed by his idol, a man he looked up to not just as an actor, but as a mentor. If this is true, the emotional fallout is just as bad as the medical one. We're looking at a man whose hero potentially gave him a life sentence. And while Michael is allegedly grappling with this, Leonardo is said to be sitting in his multi-million-dollar mansion, surrounded by a fortress of lawyers, waiting for the next victim to be brought into the machine. The sheer coldness of the industry was being exposed, layer by layer, and as the contracts started leaking, showing the NDAs that literally forbade actors from discussing communicable diseases, The world realized that the drama was only just getting started, leading us directly into the most explosive revelation yet: the role of the fixers who were paid to make sure these blood tests never saw the light of day. The fixers of Hollywood are the ghosts that live in the machinery of fame, the ones who get paid seven figures to make sure that a blood test result becomes a legal fiction and a medical reality becomes a ghost story. According to Jaguar Wright's increasingly detailed and terrifying breakdown, these high-level cleaners were the ones who managed the Leonardo Dicaprio protocol for years. She claims that whenever a co-star or a close associate of Leo's began to ask too many questions about his health, or whenever a private clinic's lab results threatened to leak, the machine didn't just offer a settlement, it offered a total identity rewrite. Jaguar alleges that the reason we see so many of Michael B. Jordan's peers suddenly pivoting their careers or moving to Europe for a sabbatical is because they were given a choice: take the money and stay quiet about the H.V. chain, or watch your career be incinerated by the same people who gave it to you. The internet is now convinced that the fixer network is so deep that they have agents embedded in the very clinics where these A-listers get their routine checkups, ensuring that any positive result for a communicable disease is immediately flagged for the studio before the actor even sees it. This level of surveillance brings us to the most heartbreaking part of the Michael B. Jordan narrative: the realization of total betrayal. Jaguar claims that Michael wasn't just a victim of a virus, he was a victim of a professional trap. She alleges that a specific mentor figure, linked directly to Leo, encouraged Michael to lean into a lifestyle of extreme privacy, not for his own protection, but so that his health status could be managed without any outside interference. As the digital detectives zoom in on Michael's recent photos, they are no longer just looking at his skin. They are looking at his circles under his eyes and his weight loss as a physical receipt of the stress of being owned by a secret. The theory circulating on Reddit is that Michael's high-energy performances in films like Creed were a desperate attempt to prove he was still physically viable to the studios, even as he was allegedly struggling with the side effects of medications that the industry was paying for under the table. Jaguar says the industry treats these men like thoroughbred horses. As long as they can run and make the owners money, their internal rot is ignored, but the moment they stumble, they are sent to the glue factory of career obscurity. And then there's the Damson Idris and Lori Harvey factor, which Jaguar has now framed as the Great Escape. The narrative being pushed is that Lori Harvey wasn't just another girl in a high-profile relationship. She was a woman who saw the medical monster under the bed and chose to run. Jaguar claims that Lori discovered a set of travel documents or medical clearances that didn't add up, files that suggested the men in her circle were being monitored for something far more serious than a common cold. This is why, according to the gossip mill, the breakup with Damson was so swift and so cold. Jaguar alleges that Lori tried to warn Damson, but he was too deep in the DiCaprio orbit, believing that he was untouchable. Now, the internet is looking at Damson's recent posts and seeing a man who is haunted by the choice he made. People are claiming that the contracts leaked in this video were just the tip of the iceberg, and that the real war Lori Harvey is preparing for involves exposing the names of the doctors who helped falsify health certificates for these stars to get them on film sets. The sheer scale of the legal and financial fallout mentioned by Jaguar is enough to bankrupt several major production houses. If it is proven that a studio knowingly put an HIV-positive actor in close physical proximity to other actors and crew members without disclosure, the lawsuits would be generational. We're talking about class action level destruction. Jaguar claims that there is a ledger currently being passed between certain high-profile lawyers, a list of every person who has been exposed to the Leo Michael chain over the last decade. She says the industry is trying to buy the ledger before it hits the press, with offers reaching into the hundreds of millions. This is no longer a story about a celebrity's private life. It's a story about corporate criminal negligence on a global scale. The sarcasm from the commentators is turning into genuine fear as people realize that their favorite innocent stars might have been complicit in keeping this biological hazard a secret just to keep their paychecks coming. As the narrative reaches its fever pitch, Jaguar Wright has issued a final warning to the king of the world. She says that the silence Leonardo is hiding behind is actually a cage, and the bars are made of the very NDAs he thought would protect him. She claims that because Michael B. Jordan was betrayed, he is no longer bound by the loyalty he once felt. The rumor is that Michael has been recording his own video testament, A detailed account of everything he was told, everything he was forced to sign, and the moment he realized his life had been changed forever. If this video drops, it will be the Zapruder film of the entertainment industry. People are already imagining the scene. Michael B. Jordan sitting in a dark room, looking into the camera, and finally saying the words that Jaguar has been shouting from the rooftops. The internet is standing by, fingers on the refresh button, waiting for that Jaguar promised would end Hollywood as we know it. But the machine is fighting back. The slander campaigns against Jaguar Wright have intensified, with outlets suddenly digging up her past to discredit her. But the audience isn't buying it. They've seen too many coincidences, too many sudden retirements, and too many quiet settlements to believe the industry's version of the truth anymore. The humor of the situation is gone. What's left is the grim reality of a system that views its most talented people as disposable assets. Jaguar says that Leo's team is trying to arrange a charity event or a public health awareness campaign to spin the narrative, but she warns that you can't put a bow on a virus. The world is now looking at every philanthropic move Leonardo makes as a desperate attempt to clean his blood-stained image. The final piece of this explosive puzzle involves the international connection. Jaguar hints that this health scandal isn't limited to Hollywood, but has branches in the European fashion world and the luxury circles of Dubai, where Leo and his posse frequently travel. She claims that there are clinics of convenience in these locations where the stars go to get treatments that aren't FDA approved, all to keep the HIV symptoms at bay while they are on their luxury vacations. This suggests a global network of medical corruption designed solely to protect the marketability of A-list talent. The public is now calling for an independent investigation, one that doesn't involve the Hollywood-friendly doctors or the studio-owned lawyers. They want the raw data. They want the truth for Michael B. Jordan. They want the accountability for Leonardo Dicaprio. As we wrap up this investigative deep dive, the question isn't whether Jaguar Wright is telling the truth, it's whether the public is ready for the truth she is offering. If Leonardo DiCaprio is the patient zero of this A-list HIV scandal, and Michael B. Jordan is the collateral damage, then Hollywood is no longer a dream factory, it's a biohazard zone. The contracts have slipped, the masks have fallen, and the medical receipts are allegedly being loaded into the digital chamber. Jaguar says the industry thought they could play God with people's lives, but they forgot that even gods can bleed. And in Hollywood, if you bleed, the sharks and the whistleblowers will find you. The fallout is here, the war has started, and as Jaguar likes to say, the truth doesn't need a publicist. Stay woke, stay messy, and keep your eyes on the bloodwork, because this story isn't just breaking, it's detonating. So, there you have it, the most dangerous game Hollywood has ever played, and the receipts are finally starting to spill out of the safe. Is Leonardo DiCaprio the architect of a medical cover-up that would make a spy thriller look like a children's book? Is Michael B. Jordan the tragic face of an industry that treats its biggest stars like disposable assets once the cameras stop rolling? Jaguar Wright has pulled the pin on the grenade, and we are all just standing here watching the smoke rise. But now I want to hear from you, because the official narrative is crumbling and the only thing left is the truth we find in the cracks. Do you think Michael B. Jordan is preparing to break his silence and take down the king of the world along with him? Or is the studio machinery too powerful, even for a scandal of this magnitude? And what about Lori Harvey? Is she the hero of this story for getting out while she still could? Or does she owe it to the public to drop the final medical files that end this once and for all? Drop your theories in the comments. I'm reading everything, and the more eyes we have on this, the harder it is for them to hide the blood work. If you want to see the actual documents and the breakdown where we name the doctors involved in this cover-up, you know what to do. Hit that like button to show the algorithm that we won't be silenced. Smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications right now, because in this industry, the truth changes every hour and you do not want to be the last one to find out. Stay woke, stay messy, and remember, in Hollywood, nothing is real except the fallout. I'm out.